my executive director and I, Rebecca Shinholzer, we were sort of on a tour of all of the counties and the cities and the towns that are in the 8th Judicial Circuit, and to introduce myself and, and basically told you guys, I'm here to help if I can. And when we finished that, we thought, well, how can we continue to do that? How can I continue to be of assistance to the counties and the cities that are in the circuit? And what I figured out was that the place where we most commonly intersect is on public records. And so we came up with essentially 3 programs, very short, medium, and long. This is the medium program, which is a guide for public records for local officials. This isn't intended to be a deep dive into every aspect of public records law that exists, but it's supposed to cover sort of the how do you keep yourself out of trouble aspects of public records law in the state of Florida. It's really designed to help small towns and our counties comply with public records law and have an understanding essentially good enough to say, do we need to call a lawyer on this, right? Like to give you to the point where you know what you don't know and you know when you need to do something, okay? That's the purpose of this. And I want to start by saying this. I'm the state attorney and I have 130 employees, and we are an entity that is subject to the public records laws. And before I was the state attorney, starting in 2021, I was the executive director for the state attorney's office, which was a position Rebecca now holds, for 8.5 years before that. And one of the things I'm most proud of is we never got sued by anyone over public records, okay? And that is kind of what I'm bringing to you is how do we avoid getting sued in public records? Because you're going to see in the program that that's just going to be bad if you get sued in public records. It's just not a good thing. And it's not a good use of the county's resources, ultimately, it comes down to. And so I want to start by kind of starting you with 2 principles. One is this. It starts from the top down, and it starts with how do you view the records? How do you view this situation in its entirety? And this is how I viewed it, and this is what I tell my staff. These records, these things, they don't belong to the state attorney's office. They don't belong to Lee County. They belong to the citizens of the state of Florida. Our job is to maintain them, create them when we're required to create them, dispose of them when we're required to dispose of them, and to maintenance them according to the statutes and distribute them according to the Florida statutes. That's our duty, that's our job, and we should embrace it, not be concerned about it, not be angry about it or anything like that. Just embrace it, and it's just something we're required to do. Now, I want you to understand my perspective on this. So, as I said, I employ 130-ish people. Guess how many positions the Florida legislature gives me to handle public records requests in my office? If anybody wants to guess 0, the answer is 0. None, okay? Now, so you all know, we're going to talk about it, that you're allowed, you're in some instances required, to charge for getting the public records for the public, right? So when that happens in my office, that money can't be charged back to a position. So that money just goes to the state of Florida. So it's a complete loss to my office whenever I have to answer a public records request that it has a lot of time associated with it. 100% loss. So what happens is, I of course have to deal with it. So I have 4 employees whose job, some part of their job, and one of them it's all of their job, is to deal with public records. But this, I tell you to explain to you why I kind of take the position which I take, which is this. When we get a public records request, especially if it's going to be something that we can already see is going to be a problem, our attitude is, we got to get on the phone with this person, we got to start talking to them, we got to start communicating with them, and we got to start explaining the situation from our side to them so that they can understand it, and if possible, we can help them get to a point where they don't want to make a public records request that's going to cost my office huge amounts of time that can in no way be recovered, right? So I just want you to understand that, because that's where I come from. It might be different for you all. You might be able to take that money and put it back against someone's salary. I can't do that, okay? So I want you to understand that's kind of where I come from. That's where a lot of this is sort of oriented. The other thing I want you to understand is this. Not all public records requests and not all public records requestors are the same, okay? So it's important when we're talking about this to understand that who we're talking about when we're talking about a requester. And as we go through it, I'm going to reference different types of requesters here. And I break them into three kind of broad categories with a little bit of a fourth category, okay? What I call a category 1 requester, as we're talking, is for us normally a victim. They may not even know they're making a public records request. They're coming to us and they're saying, I need one thing, this is what it's for, and I need it right away. Okay? We understand where you're coming from, we know why you need it, we want to help you, you're ours. We love you, we want to help you with this. Okay? That's a category 1 requester. It could be a witness, it could be somebody else, but it's generally a small request. It's usually something we can handle quite quickly, and we want to handle it quite quickly. The second is what I call the law firms. So we handle big murder cases and things that are quite onerous and have lots of information in the files, videos, which we'll talk about, which are really tough, things like that. And they want it, and they want all of it. Okay. We know who they are, we deal with them on a regular basis, they deal with us on a regular basis, so we have a relationship with them, ongoing relationship with them. They're going to make big requests, we're going to answer them, we work with them from time to time. And the third is what I would call your bad actors, okay? These are the people who are out there in the world, and they're not making a public records request of you because they actually want you to answer it. They're making a public records request of you because they want you to mess it up, okay? And these people exist, and they make money by doing this, and we're going to talk about why later in the presentation. Why will they do this? What's the motivation to do it? It's money. That's motivation for most things. And so when we have those kind of people, they get the best treatment of all. They get the highest level of priority, they get the highest level of treatment, they get the most attention, and we work with them as best as we can to make sure that they're getting what they need. And you'll understand why when we get finished talking about it. There is one final category, which I don't really put in any of those categories, and that's our members of the press. We try and deal with them as best we can. We have a lot of cases that the press is interested in. They have time frames that are different than other people might have. We try to be respectful of what they need and what they want. They work with us. We have developed a relationship with most of them, although we do have a TV20 who's anchors and people, they change with some frequency. So, it's a new relationship sometimes, but it's a little bit of a different scenario with them than it is with the other three. I don't really put them in any of those categories. So that's just sort of a baseline to where to start. And so